following video is not made for kids. Your discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the Tiafangi coming to you with a review of a Transformers action figure that I've been really looking forward to getting all this year since it was announced. And so here he is, the Transformers Generations Selects Artfire and Nightstick. So yes, I am really excited to finally have this action figure in my Transformers collection. So for those of you who don't know, Nightstick is a Transformers character who was created by Takara Tomy during the 1987 lineup of Transformers characters. Artfire is a straight-up repaint of Inferno, and Artfire was one of two Autobots created by Takara Tomy, only to be one of the new Autobot Targetmasters. Rather than turning Hot Rod, Cup, and Blur into Targetmasters like Hasbro did, Takara Tomy took Generation 1 Inferno, and they also took Generation 1 Jazz, and repainted them into two new Autobot Targetmasters. The repaint of Jazz was named Stepper. Later Hasbro renamed Stepper into Ricochet, and then the repaint of Inferno was known as Artfire. So here he is inside the box. It's in all his splendor and glory. So yeah, Artfire is almost identical to Inferno. The main difference is that his robot mode torso and his feet are done in white. And of course, he is a Targetmaster partner. So there is Nightstick. I can't remember which Battlemaster from the Siege line that Nightstick is a repaint from. And for those of you wondering, yes, Nightstick is the same name as the Targetmaster that was partnered with Cyclonus. Just like the Autobot Targetmasters, the Decepticon Targetmasters that were released in Japan. Takara Tomy didn't do what Hasbro did and resold figures from the 1986 lineup as Targetmasters, so Cyclonus and Scourge were never Targetmasters in Japan, and Cyclonus and Scourge's Targetmasters were given to Stepper, and Artfire, and adding confusion to the switching around of Targetmasters. Takara Tomy applied Nightstick's name to Fracas, Scourge's Targetmaster, and then Scourge's Targetmaster, the name Fracas was applied to Cyclonus' Targetmaster Nightstick, but then Takara Tomy renamed Fracas Nebulon. So yes, thanks to Hasbro and Takara Tomy, the same exact Targetmasters have been partnered with different Transformers figures, different Transformers characters, so one could easily make a joke storyline that Nightstick started off as Cyclonus' Targetmaster, but he was abandoned, and one day he was rescued by a group of Autobots, and Nightstick now has partnered himself with Artfire. So yeah, that's one option that you have. So, taking a close look at him while he's still inside his package bubble. This is the first ever action figure of Artfire that's been released by Hasbro here in the United States, and Artfire when it comes to obscure Transformers characters, Artfire has always been right there at the bottom of the popularity list of Transformers characters. And this is how obscure and a little known of a Transformers character Artfire is. There have only been a total of 4 action figures that Artfire has been given. The first one was the original Generation 1 Targetmaster released in 1988. The second was the United version of Artfire. All of these first Artfire figures were released exclusively by Takara Tomy in Japan. And there was United Artfire, which was a repaint of the Universe Voyager class Inferno figure. I believe United Artfire was released either in 2012 or 2013. And then the third Artfire action figure was the Masterpiece figure, which Takara Tomy figured after designing a Masterpiece figure for Inferno. There was no sense in not using the Masterpiece mold a second time, so they released a Masterpiece action figure of Artfire. All those Artfire figures were Japanese exclusive, so the fourth Artfire action figure to be released, this one right here, the Generation Selects, aka War for Cybertron Trilogy version. This has become the first and only Artfire action figure that's been released by Hasbro in the United States, and as a result of that, this has become the first and only action figure of Artfire that I have in my Transformers collection. action. So yes, I am just beyond thrilled to finally have an action figure of Artfire in my Transformers collection. After the masterpiece figure of Artfire was released, I did some background information on the character, and I waited since then, and for Hasbro to one day release an action figure of Artfire. And now that it's finally happened, I am just beyond thrilled. And from what I can tell, just like all his past action figures, Artfire is a straight up repaint of, in this case, the Kingdom version of Inferno that was released earlier this year. And yes, I just love the fact that Artfire has been given his Targetmaster partner Nightstick. And because Nightstick is a straight up repaint of one of the Battle Masters from the Siege line, you get two sets of blast effects that were included with the Battle Masters. I don't know which Battle Masters originally came with these blast effects, but you've got the single shot laser guns, and then you've got the wavy laser blasts as well. And of course, Artfire, being a straight up repaint of Inferno, comes with all of Inferno's accessory pieces. You got the two hoses, the laser gun, and you've got the two spray nozzles. The all gray one attaches at the top, at the side of Artfire's head, and then you've got the more pointed one, and that can attach to one of his hands when you switch it out. So without further delay, let's get Artfire freed from his plastic casing and take a close look at him in robot mode. Alright, and so before we actually take a look at Artfire, here is his Targetmaster partner, Nightstick. Again, I apologize, I don't remember off the top of my head which Battle Master from the Siege line that Nightstick is a straight up repaint from. But I do admire Hasbro and Takara giving him the same exact paint job that the original Generation 1 action figure had. So in terms of articulation, no head articulation. Nightstick's arms are attached to his shoulders at ball joints. Same with his legs. The hips are attached at ball joints. But the legs can go backward if you move the backpack out of the way. Hey, apologies for having him so close to the bottom of the camera. But yeah, with Nightstick, close up of him. If you own any of the Battle Masters from the Siege and also the Earthrise lines, Nightstick is nothing new, unfortunately. So to transform into Artfire's laser gun, put the legs together, and then rotate and fold them around. Now rotate the backpack, and then together the feet, clip the legs, the barrels, like that, and then you clip the arms into the hips. And of course, out of the box, one of Artfire's joints is not wanting to transform correctly. There it is. Alright, hopefully now that it's moved into proper place, finish transforming him. Alright, and so here is Artfire transformed into, I just called him Artfire, Nightstick. Here he is transformed into Artfire's Targetmaster. And for just being mostly black with gray, it is pretty impressive looking, especially considering the fact that Artfire's vehicle mode is a fire truck, and he's more of a defensive than an attack type robot. And that's one of the reasons why the blast effects that are designed to plug into Nightstick. Here's one each of the two blast effects you get. And so, because Artfire is a fire truck, the blast effects I personally believe are supposed to be more water than actual laser blasts. So there's what Nightstick looks like with both of the different blast effects attached to the front of him. And because they're light blue, coupled with the fact that Artfire's vehicle mode is a fire truck, you could use your imagination and say that these are actually supposed to be bursts of water. And let me get the other two blast effects popped out, because you can attach them to Artfire's weapons as well. Now, so here is Artfire in his robot mode. There he is holding Nightstick. And as you can see here, the blue blast effect X can attach to the front, and you can make it look like Artfire is using, along with Nightstick's help, is putting out a fire. So that's pretty impressive looking there. And if you wanted to, you could use the blast effects on Inferno as well. And make it look like Artfire spraying water all over the place as he's wetting down the battlefield. But yeah, Artfire, I don't know if it's because he was sold as an exclusive in the Generations Selects line instead of mass retail, but but it's not just because of Nightstick, but because of the blast effects as well. Artfire has become the version of the mold that is packaged with the most accessory pieces. If you were to remove Nightstick and the blast effects, Artfire would have be the exact same action figure as Inferno. The only difference, of course, being whereas Inferno is all red, Artfire is half red, half white. Right, but yeah, I am just really impressed with Artfire. So if you want to go back and see the articulation that this figure has, you can go back and watch my video review of Kingdom Inferno. And speaking of which, for a size comparison, here is Artfire next to Kingdom Inferno. As you can see, the head sculpt is the exact same. So just like the original Generation 1 action figures of them, Artfire and Inferno are the exact same figure, just done in different colors. But yeah, I'm really impressed with how Artfire turned out, and I love the how his white torso and white feet. It's a subtle enough paint difference that he is distinguishable from Inferno. Or no, it's not. It's the same type of distinguishment you get when comparing Starscream to Thundercracker or Skywarp, where you know they're completely different characters despite being repaints of each other. So I really enjoy that. One thing about Artfire is that the two horns on his head are done in blue, whereas Inferno they are done in yellow. I believe the head crests are the same shade of metallic silvery blue with a on both figures and um, it's really hard for my camera to pick it up. It's really hard to tell, but if you look right there, this is something I noticed started to happen with Transformers action figures several years ago. A lot of the parts on Transformers action figures that have been released in recent years, instead of being actual black plastic, they're actually a very, very dark greenish brown. And you can see and what I mean by that is I don't know how my camera's going to pick it up, but if you put Artfire's a regular laser gun and you put it right next to Inferno's, I don't know how well you can see my camera's picking up having them overlap like that. Artfire's actual laser gun is solid black plastic, but Inferno's is actually a very dark brown. And the only way you'd notice that is that these parts on these Transformers action figures that are actually dark brown rather than being pure black plastic, you won't notice it until you actually put it against something that is made out of solid black plastic. And that's what all the black parts on Artfire are. They are actual solid black plastic. It's the same with Nightstick and his fists. So again, I don't know how well the camera's going to distinguish it, but yeah, it's a bad angle right there. But yeah, Artfire. But yeah, all the parts on Inferno that look like they're supposed to be made out of black plastic. Once you get Artfire and you put them right beside each other, it's actually dark brown on Inferno. So it is nice to see the parts of Artfire that are black plastic aren't just an illusion. It is actual black plastic that's been used on him. So I'm really appreciate seeing that. So for another size comparison, here's Artfire next to Grapple, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold all three of them with my two hands. And see what I can do here for the sake of the video. But Okay, so yeah, here is Artfire surrounded by Earthrise Grapple and Kingdom Inferno. So here's every use of this mold that's been released so far. And Artfire is just Artfire is just such a rare and obscure Transformers character. I'm thrilled to finally have an action figure of him in my Transformers collection. And even though my camera is making it look like Artfire has a different sculpted chest compared to Red Alert and Inferno, it's only because my camera is making the silver on the front of him. It's very reflective, and the white on his chest is making it look like it's disappearing. But Artfire does in fact have the same front bumper section, the same robot mode chest slash truck cab. Have that Grapple and Inferno do. In terms of mold differences, the version of this mold that is the most distinguished in terms of sculpting detail, it is the first version of the mold, which is Earthrise Grapple, due to his vehicle mode being a construction crane, whereas Artfire and Inferno are both fire trucks. And the reason why I keep dipping down to grab something off the floor is because the blast effects keep falling off, so I switched them. But yeah, I am just really impressed with as to finally having Artfire in my collection. And I mentioned earlier in the video that as Grapple and Inferno fall all down off camera, and I mentioned earlier in the video that Artfire was one of two Autobot Targetmasters created originally by Takara Tomy for the 1987 line of Autobot Targetmasters. The other was Stepper, who was renamed Ricochet by Hasbro. So for one last special size comparison here in robot mode, here's Generation Selects Artfire with Generation Selects X Ricochet, aka Stepper. So yes, with the release of Artfire in the Generation Selects line now in 2021. Ricochet was one of the very first Transformers action figures to be released in the Generation Selects line back in 2018. He's just like his Generation 1 figure, he's a straight up repaint of a Jazz action figure, in this case the Power of the Primes version of Jazz. So yeah, here are Artfire and Ricochet, a reunited or united at last. And yeah, I'm really thrilled to finally have action figures of both these guys standing right beside each other. With Transformers action figures continuing to be downsized each year, I was worried that the Power of the Prime, that Ricochet being a repaint of the Power of the Prime's version of Jazz, that he might be closer to Artfire in height. But yeah, I'm really enjoying seeing the fact that Artfire is a whole head taller than Ricochet, because this is in scale with the Generation 1 action figures. And yes, I cannot get over I cannot get over the excitement it is finally seeing these guys standing side by side with each other. So without further delay, we will get Artfire transformed into his alt mode of a fire truck, and we will wrap up the review and take a close look at him in his vehicle mode. Alright, and here is Artfire transformed into his vehicle mode of a fire truck. I thought I read on Wikipedia that Artfire's paint job is based more off of a Japanese fire truck, and I believe on both the I know on the Masterpiece version of Artfire, he has it. I don't know if he has it on the United or Generation 1 versions, but on the Masterpiece release of Artfire, there's Japanese writing on the side of his vehicle mode, and I believe it's supposed to be the word fire department in Japanese. But yes, that for those of you wondering why Artfire looks the way he does, he's based more off of a Japanese fire truck. Whether or not Japanese fire trucks still look like this, yes, I honestly can't say. But yes, I really do enjoy Artfire's red and white paint job. It's as obscure a character as he is, that's what has become Artfire's signature look, as being a half red, half white repaint of Inferno. And yes, I just really enjoy finally having an action figure of Artfire in my Transformers collection. Now, as far as weapon storage of all his accessory pieces, Again, just like the original Generation 1 Artfire action figure, because this mold wasn't originally designed to be a Targetmaster as far as having a spot to store Nightstick, unfortunately the only place to attach Nightstick is to either side of the base tower of the ladder on Artfire. So that is a little disappointing that there was no retooling done to give Nightstick a more proper storage spot on Artfire, but I can easily overlook it. And again, you can attach the Blast Effects X as well. Also, there's the more wavy looking ones coming out of Nightstick, and then there's these two ones right here. Here I attach them to the front of the ladder section again. Because they're light blue, they're supposed to be water, so instead of actually shooting lasers, Artfire spitting water out, so with the blast effects you can do that now. So for a quick size comparison, here is Artfire next to Inferno. Again, as you can see, Artfire is a straight up repaint of Inferno. So in vehicle mode, the only difference between the two of them is that Artfire's truck cab and the the back section where his ladder is attached. Those parts of him are done in white, whereas Inferno is all red. And hopefully I can hold them like this again. And just to have every version of the mold, here also is Earthrise Grapple. So yeah, I'm really impressed with how Artfire came out. And I think he is distinguished enough that you can tell him apart from both Inferno and Grapple as well. So with the release of Artfire in the Generation Selects line, the Generation 1 version of this mold has been used in the past to make 4 different Autobot Transformers characters. So with the release of Artfire in the Generation Selects line, the only character that can be made, the only other character known that to be made from this mold is Hauler, or Road Hauler as he was named by Takara Tomy. Hauler infamously appeared in the very first episode of the G1 series in one scene, and then he was never seen or heard from again. And so Takara Tomy decided to take the G1 grapple mold and repainted him in Constructicon on neon green and purple, and that's how Hauler came to be defined as being a green repaint of grapple. So hopefully, just like we got Artfire repainted from Inferno, we'll get an action figure of Road Hauler repainted from Grapple. I thought I heard on some of the fan-based websites such as TFW2005.com that Road Hauler was listed in a database of upcoming Transformers action figures being released in the Generation Selects line. So yeah, I personally wouldn't mind having a fourth version of this mole. Just so the Autobots could have a fleet of construction cranes and fire trucks at their disposal. So yeah, I am just really enjoying having an action figure of Artfire. I keep repeating myself. Oh, if I apologize, but that's just how excited I am. And of course, for another size comparison in vehicle mode, here is Artfire next to Ricochet. And as you can see here, this is why I was worried that the Power of the Primes Jazz mold, I was afraid that it would make a Ricochet look too large next to Artfire. In robot mode, the sizes of the robot modes compared to each other, they're just fine. But here in vehicle mode, a Ricochet does look large compared to Artfire, and Artfire at the same time looks small compared to Ricochet. And evidence of that can be seen by the fact that Artfire's tires are smaller than Ricochet's are. So whether or not we're going to get another action figure of Ricochet from Hasbro that's repainted from the Studio Series 86 version of Jazz is unknown at this point. Right? Considering the fact that this is the first ever action figure of Artfire that's been released by Hasbro, even though the character was introduced back in 1987. And from what I've been seeing on the internet, it looks like Hasbro and Takara Tomy are trying to be very careful with how they design, distribute, and release Transformers action figures of very obscure Transformers characters that are so unknown that there's fewer Transformers fans who know about these Transformers characters versus ones that don't. But I am still very grateful that Hasbro and Takara Tomy decided to use the Earthrise grapple mold a third time to give us Artfire, but yes. So here is Artfire and Ricochet, the Autobot, formerly Takara Tomy exclusive Autobot Target Masters, having been released by Hasbro in the United States. So hopefully this is a good sign that more formerly Takara Tomy exclusive Transformers characters will be released by Hasbro. And one thing I'm just noticing right now, it's very hard to tell from a distance, but if you look closely right here, Artfire's Autobot logo is slightly off center, and is slightly tilted. So unfortunately, that's one of the main gripes that collectors have had with the Transformers Generation Selects line is that if there's any QC issues such as loose joints or paint apps that haven't been applied properly, you won't notice them until you actually take the figure out of the box and look at it. So yeah, for those of you out there who haven't yet gotten Artfire and you're debating about possibly getting him, just be warned that you might have an Autobot logo that looks like it's out of place. From a distance, you can't really tell L on it, unlike Kingdom Inferno, whose Autobot logo has a white outline. Artfire's Autobot logo doesn't need a white outline because it's already on a white background. But yeah, that's just one thing to keep an eye out. But I have that Inferno's Autobot logo might not be entirely entered the way Inferno and also Grapple's Autobot logos are. So yes, thank you guys all so much for watching again. And this has been the TFN Geek, and to answer the final question, do I recommend getting Generation Selects Artfire and adding him to your Transformers collection? Absolutely. You cannot go wrong on having the Generation Selects Artfire action figure in your Transformers collection. Because he's a straight up repaint of Inferno, he doesn't have the same QC issue that infamously made Earthrise Grapple a shelf warming Transformers action figure. You'll be able to get full enjoyment with Artfire in your Transformers collection. So thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN and Geek, and even if you don't have any of the other Transformers action figures I've compared Artfire to, as a standalone figure, Artfire is pretty impressive. And again, on top of everything else, he is a Target Master, so you aren't getting just one Transformers figure, you're getting two in this set. Thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN Geek, and until next time, you guys, stay safe, stay healthy, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.